Pop, 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 pass the popcorn. 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 Pass the popcorn.
Welcome to Alternate Ending, where we're discovering good movies, one bad movie at a time. I'm your host, Carrie Jarasinski, and this is Pass the Popcorn, where we're joined by the coolest film lovers we know to talk about movies that are so good or so bad that we can't wait to share them with you. Today, I am joined by a very special guest. He's 5'9"ish with sandy blonde hair and eyes like daggers. It's Mr. Tim Brayton. Welcome to the show.
I don't think I have sandy blonde hair. What in God's name are you talking about? I have brown hair.
No. That is like sand. It's not like brown is like what my hair color would be if it wasn't white. Like it's this brown. Yours is like a light tan, I would call it.
Firmly disagree. Firmly disagree.
Well, you know what? We'll just stand there because we're not going to align. We're not going to align. But Tim, welcome to the show. We're here today with special-ish thanks to Patreon supporter Brian Fowler to hash out our takes on the 4 Dragon Balls.
I feel that one of us probably has more legitimate thanks in their heart for Brian than the other. We'll get there.
I'm kind of curious who it is, so we'll get there as well. But we have lots to hash out today. Is it balls? Is it balls? Or is it ball? Who knows? But we'll get there when we start talking about that a little bit more. But in other news, I want to share with you, Tim, something kind of sad, something kind of happy at the same time.
You finally threw Rob out.
Yes. So it's mostly happy. And I did throw him out because I had to come out of retirement this week.
Oh, no.
I know. I had to start a new job.
I feel very sorry for you.
You should. I've thought about you all week, and I was like, I want to warn you, work is exhausting. Honestly.
Oh, I know that.
I recommend extending your stint in school maybe like another 20 years.
I think my partner would stab me in the chest with scissors if I tried to sell that. But no, this semester I have one day where I have to log 8 hours, and at the end of that day, I feel like I ran a marathon up a mountain. Like 8-hour work days are just so insanely tiring.
Yeah, I could not possibly agree with you more. As you know, I've been remote at my other job for the last 10 years. So essentially, it's sort of
you're working.
I'm working, like with the attached to it. I have to get up and I have to shower, and I also have to put pants on that like aren't of the yoga variety, and I have to actually go to a physical location and put a badge in and walk in a door.
I mean, here's what I have to say to that, Carrie. Do you know when I showered relative to this podcast, which we started recording at 5 p.m.?
30 minutes ago. It looks a little damp still.
20.
Yeah.
Stepped into the shower at like 4:38. Do you know when I put pants on, Carrie?
Right before that. Right after that.
I'm not wearing pants, Carrie. That's why I'm sitting down and you're only seeing my like shoulder blades up.
There's like a little bit of a reflection in your glasses. I should warn you.
I'm freeballing. It's
I know.
Very pleasing.
I know. That's why I said balls so many times earlier at the intro of this. I was trying to harness that. I don't know what to do with it. And you are a self-proclaimed introvert. I am a self-proclaimed like most extreme extrovert you can find. And I'm telling you, after day 2, I was like, I don't think I can do this anymore. I'm so tired. And it's like, you have to be on like the whole day, and people come and talk to you, and you have to be like, I want to make sure that this person like loves me immediately. So that comes with like its own set of like, I have to woo this person immediately in 5 seconds, but people are flying at you left and right. I'm like, I'm just trying to have this little cup of coffee, which I gave up. So now I'm caffeinated, and I'm trying to woo people while caffeinated, and it's not going particularly well.
That sounds terrible, and it scares me. I have actually, since last we spoke, sort of put a circle around a job that I'm planning on applying for in the event that academia doesn't work, which it won't. and it's a job that would involve being in a place,
Oh
and it
no.
would involve managing people, which is something I've never done before.
You would be so bad at that. I would. I mean that with such love. You are so kind. I know you think you're not kind, but you are so kind having to manage people and deal with their shit that they throw you every day. Like, hey Tim, did you punch my time card? Hey Tim, did you know I'm having an HR issue? You just be like, get away from me.
I will say this: the people that I would have to manage would all be undergraduates.
Oh, okay.
So I do have some experience with their
That's
particular
fair.
brand of neediness.
Are you allowed to say what it is? Like, can you talk about the role?
I will tell you off air. I don't want to talk about it because it's technically not even a job that's posted. I just know it's coming.
Okay.
So we will talk later, and maybe one day in January
You'll
I
get
will
to
announce
talk
on this
about
for
it.
your podcast.
Well,
But I'm working.
that is very exciting. I again still not recommending it, but it is still very exciting. So yeah, I'm feeling a little tired. I still have to go back on Monday. I've got to go back in again.
I know. Isn't that what sucks about it? Like you're there for 5 days and you're like, okay, well, I did all the work. And then
Yeah.
you realize, no, I have to go back and do all the work again for the next 5 days. And I have to do that until I turn 65 years old.
Yeah. This is
And
exactly.
that's so many years away. Like I know that you're an old middle-aged lady, Carrie,
Yeah.
but you're not that old. And that's still
Right.
a ton of years from now.
Yeah, I know.
It's like at least 10.
I'm
right?
doing the math. I have a little like countdown checker that I have for it. I will say the good thing about, I previously was coming from a role that was based in DC and then previous to that, Chicago. I will say the nice part is this is based locally in Madison, obviously. I would say my self-esteem has gone up in the last week, though, at least 15%. I would say for the first time in the last 15 years, I am in the youngest 10 to 15% of anybody in the office. And there's something really nice about that. You're like, I don't know. I like to feel like, hip and edgy. And I haven't felt that for a long time.
I can imagine. And I also feel it has to be just a wonderful boost to your self-esteem to not have to spend as much time around your dreadful children.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all coming together.
Whose mission in life at this point is just to belittle you, it seems.
This is true. I won't go into the joke, or I won't go into exactly what happened, but all I'll tell you is first day of work was in a meeting and I made a polyamorous joke and the person didn't get it that I said the joke to.
Did you explain the joke?
I kind of tried to, because I felt that like pang of like, I need you to know I'm not a weirdo. So let me explain why this is so funny. And she still wasn't like tracking with me and getting in there. And so all I thought about after I said the joke and it flopped and it was a disaster and my face was completely flushed and red, I could feel it getting red. Thinking about it again, all I was thinking was how much I blame you for that. I was like, I would have never said this joke
frankly.
if I didn't know.
It feels like I have normalized for you a way of talking with adults that is not appropriate on any level. And to a certain extent, I feel you should know that. You should be a smart enough person to realize that I am the devil incarnate. But I also feel like I'm such a seductive devil that I sort of made you forget that.
That's exactly how I would describe it. So like now I'm just gonna like take a beat. Like, what would Tim do next time that I want to say something that might not be appropriate for work?
What would Tim do is a very good negative case. Just don't do it.
Just don't
Whatever
do it.
Tim would do.
Yeah, that's my new plan. If this lady will ever speak to me again, but we shall see. But amidst this chaos and amidst this going back to work and having to be a human again, I did watch some movies. Quite a few, in fact, over the course of the last week.
I should imagine you watched for sure 4. Because if you watched less than 4, we were in trouble.
I watched 6. I would say I watched 6.5. I watched 7.5 movies, I think. 7.5 movies. I caught half of Bottoms before I just like couldn't take it anymore and had to like will myself into a sleep, which I did. And then I will say I'm not sure that I actually saw the first half, because then Rob was finishing it today and I was like, What is this movie? What's this show? And he's like, it's Bottoms. We watched this for like an hour last night.
Did we talk about Bottoms, or is that? Oh, we talked about Bottoms at the viewing party, didn't we?
We did. You were talking about how you avoided it. Instead, you went for Golda because you were like, oh, I really wanted to.
But I feel like I knew that you'd seen half of Bottoms. Is what I'm saying.
Oh, I see. Maybe that is what it is too. Maybe that's what it is too. So I haven't seen the whole thing. I also caught something called like, oh, cripers. It's like Thriller Kills. It's a new one that's out. It's about a time machine where the girl goes back to like keep her mom from dying. It's new. It's like a slasher. It's by the director, I think, of Freaky. Is this ringing any bells for you?
None whatsoever, but I'm going to look this up while
You
you're
look
telling
it
me
up.
this about
Yeah,
the other
Thriller
movies you've
Kills,
seen.
something like that. And then I caught Under the Skin, which is a movie that I saw thanks to Patreon supporter.
That is a movie that I
JV.
bet you sought out entirely on your own volition.
Yes. I heard about it. I saw it, and I was like, this is for me. This is a movie for me. So saw that, which I'll be covering today in my worth mentioning. And then lots of Balls movies. Lots of, just four. Actually, just four Dragon Ball Z, I think, movies, thanks to Brian Fowler. So that's my lineup. What about you?
I'm still trying to spot
still
the movie
looking
that
at
you watched. The movie by the director of Freaky is called We Have a Ghost.
No, that's not
And that doesn't
it.
sound like the one you're talking about.
Everybody that's listening probably knows. It's being advertised all over the place.
Where is it streaming?
Totally Killer, it's called.
Totally Killer.
Which is not by anybody that's affiliated with the movie Freaky, I think.
Okay.
That's why you're having a hard time
I have
finding
not
it.
heard of Totally Killer.
Oh, don't see it. It's like such a seller. You're going to look at the trailer of it. Well, you probably will look at the trailer and think, gross. But I look at the trailer, if you have my sensibilities, and you're going to be like, yeah, this looks super fun. Like Back to the Future meets killer movie. And it's just not. It's just really not good.
I will say I'm currently looking at the poster and I feel like a sense of aversion. Like it's very gross.
Yes, you
trailer,
would not like.
Poster is.
You would not like. But we were sold, and then again, a little bit of Bottoms, and I'm not digging that one right now either. So, nevertheless, that's my lineup. What have you been binging?
So what have I been binging? Well, I am continuing to watch all those Looney Tunes, which I will be continuing to do. That'll always be my go-to answer until late 2025. So be ready for that. I have watched very little, although I am trying to see a bit more and review it. So I did not that long ago, thanks to Patreon Sting, catch up with a very, very violent, very, very funny Hong Kong action movie called Ricky O, The Story of Ricky. And in celebration of the impending release of the movie Once Within a Time, directed by Godfrey Reggio with a score by Philip Glass, I've been going back through all of the other films directed by Reggio with Glass scores, notably the Katsi trilogy of Koyanis Katsi, which is a masterpiece, Poa Katsi, which is good, and Nakoi Katsi, which is bad enough that it feels like you should be able to like get hazard pay for having sat through it. None of which I'll be bringing to the table, though. I feel like chatting my way through the 4 Dragon Balls will be the extent to which I have movie talk and energy this day. But do look out for my reviews of all those other things I just mentioned. The Katsi trilogy will be on the site soon. But I am very interested to hear your thoughts on Under the Skin, because I'll just lay my hands down. Everyone knows this. I reviewed it 10 years ago. I think that movie is a pip.
Is that a good thing?
It's a pretty good thing.
Okay, but like, what does pretty good mean? What is an actual pip?
It's in the top. I put it in the top 100 films of the 2010s.
Oh, okay. Still
So
not really understanding
the
the
top 100
the
pip.
Okay, so if I start using the word pip, it's kind of like it's pretty good. That's a real
It's
pip.
pretty darn good if
Pretty
it's a pip.
darn
I
good
would
if it's
say.
a pip. Okay. Well, you know what? I don't know. I'm still kind of processing if this is pippy for me or not. Let me just tell you what I think this movie is about. Again, thanks to
I'm
Jonathan.
so eager to hear what you think this movie is about.
I don't know. That's the problem. So I'm so glad you're here, and I'm so glad that you've seen it. I don't know what happened. Again, thank you to the Jonathan Vogt, JV, for this pick, because I think this is one where I could have liked this. So I kind of get where he was going. I think it's sort of Suspiria meets like Banshees of Inisherin, maybe, with like a little bit of Ghost in the Shell. Is that like the best description you've ever heard?
I don't see any of those three in here, and I'm outright confused where you're getting Banshees of Inisherin, but I would like to hear you
Oh,
dig into this a little
no.
bit for
I
me.
thought you were going to look to me and be like, wow, Carrie, like you're just on. This being back to work is really keeping you fresh.
I mean, I think you're on something,
Oh,
which is almost the same sentiment.
This is something I should have probably done before watching this movie, but this movie is, I think, it's about a gal. It's about a little bit of a gal named...
That's possibly true.
May or may not be true about maybe a gal.
She may be a gal.
I think she's not, but I'll get there later. I think we'll start with it. She's maybe a gal. And it's played by Scarlett Johansson. And that's also why I was excited about it, because she's my free pass. I don't know if she's yours as well. I were to ever run into her, she's my female free pass that Rob and I have agreed to. So I was very excited to see it. Rob also said that he had seen it before, and I was like, do you want to watch it with me again? And he was like, well, I would like to see Scarlett Johansson naked, but like not enough to get me to watch it again. So anyway, I digress. So Scarlett Johansson. She comes in here. She's, I think, like, she's running around in Scotland. That's what I'll say. She's running around in Scotland.
Sure
and
is.
So she comes in and she's like, she gets this van. So she gets kind of like a Sprinter van. It's a little bit stalkerish. It's a little bit weird, but it's kind of unassuming. You'd be like, maybe it's fine. Unknown. Plus, she doesn't look too sketchy. And I should back up to say, prior to that, she steals a lady's clothes from the river. So she's wearing somebody else's clothes from the river of a possibly dead lady. We're not sure, because just as you think she's dying or is dead, there's a little bit of a tear. I don't know if you saw that. I remember that, but she cries a little bit. So is this lady alive? Is she comatose? We don't really know. It's never explained. Scarlett Johansson takes her clothes. That's where this starts off. Then, from there, she starts to just drive around in her car, and she is like, hey, what are you up to like all these dudes on the street. And then sometimes they engage. Usually they do, because she's such a looker. And then they like talk to her a little bit. And then sometimes they go on their merry way. Other times she's like, no, why don't you get into my van? And then when they do, she asks them some like semi-seductive questions, like, do you think I'm pretty? Or like, what do you think of my face? Like, so she'll ask things like that. Then I still don't really know like what the criteria is for her to take them as a victim, but she then will like lure them to a random house where when she walks in the door, the lights go out and it's very dark, and then they sink and they die. They all die. I don't think this is a spoiler to say. This happens out very early in the movie.
I am unclear that you could spoil this movie.
Okay, good. Because this is nothing. Like, this is nothing about it. And then you're like, oh, is this your imagination? Is this real? Why did they die? And why is there no living room furniture? It's just very dark. It looks like a Stranger Things episode where they're just walking in liquid darkness. And then she can float on the liquid darkness, but he can't, or these men can't, and they sink and die. Am I on?
Yes.
Is this happening? This is all happening.
So far, everything you've said is depicted on screen.
Okay. Okay, because I kind of was like, what am I watching? And then I'm like, is this a metaphor? Like, is she pulling them into her apartment and she's really slicing them up and dicing them up and like doing all this stuff, but we as a viewer, maybe it's like too hard for us to watch. So they're like, we're just going to have them sink into this little puddle. And that seems like better somehow. But
I think it's a metaphor.
For what?
I don't quite know.
Okay, good.
But I think it is a metaphor.
A metaphor. So I think it is too, and this is where things get even weird. I know it already sounds weird. It gets weirder. So like, you come to find she's like accumulating these creepers in the puddle. So they're in the puddle and they're accumulating there. But if you accumulate there long enough, you pop. And then when you pop, it doesn't look good. You sort of like, you deflate and then you poof away if you're there too long.
Yes.
fact that you're agreeing with me is comical. I'm like,
I
what?
think they are being digested.
Okay, put a pin in that one. I want to know more about that. I
I
know.
don't know that I have any more to say than I
That's
just
it.
did, but let's put a pin in it anyway.
Okay. Well, later on, this continues. She clearly doesn't really have. This is another thing I like about her. She's not like biased. She has like really diverse taste. Like she has like one guy who's like super short and has some like he has a disease that causes like facial deformity. She's like, sure. And then there's another guy who's like tall and has like a lot of body hair. She's like, sure. Like she doesn't seem to care visually what they look like.
Mm-hmm.
She'll just bring anybody in there. But then, all right, this is where things get a little tipsy-turny. She, I think, decides, hey, maybe I'll give this a go. So rather than putting people in my puddle, maybe I'm going to try out this human thing. Because then she kind of hooks up with somebody or tries to hook up with somebody, but it kind of goes awry. And then she puts a lamp on her privates. I don't really know what was happening there, but she puts a lamp on her privates and then runs away. So I was like, was she wanting a relationship? I don't know. So she's testing out the human world, I think, a little bit, because I think she might become fine. This is not a spoiler. It is a spoiler, but this is an old movie. I think she might not be human. Perhaps.
Do you think that the film might give us an indication that she is
I think
not human?
under her skin, she's not human.
I think the movie is pointing us in that direction by calling itself Under the Skin. Yes.
So yes, gosh, I feel really good about that description. I feel a little flustered at first, but now I feel really good about it. Is that it? I think that's what happens.
I think that's close enough to it.
Yeah. And then unknown. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know why. The thing is, this movie doesn't answer any questions. Why is she doing this? Is she an alien? What is this house? Where are these puddles? Why these people? Why does she let certain people live? It's just like you have to just let the entire thing wash over you, kind of like Suspiria. And it's kind of wandery.
You know how I love that.
I know. It's kind of wandery. Oh, you know what? The other thing that reminded me of Suspiria was, remember in Suspiria when that lady is like, and gets like all contorted and weird? You remember that?
No, but yes. I know what you're talking about. You're talking about New Suspiria.
New Suspiria. Yes.
Okay.
Then that's what happens to the guy in the puddle. Like the minute I saw that, and I was
Yes.
like, this is like Suspiria. And then it's kind of wandery, like Banshees of Inisherin, and no one wants to hang out with her, just like Colin Farrell. So that's kind of why it's like that. And then it kind of ended, and I was just like, I really don't know what I just saw. I don't know if I even understand any of this, but it's super weird.
What did you think about the opening sequence?
Is that where the guy from the motorcycle pulls the gal out of the...
No, before it is like a story, when it's just kind of like audiovisual stuff.
Yes. Okay. Great question. I forgot about that part. I'll tell you what happened. This is where I started to think, maybe I'm getting more cinephile than I think. As that thing started to happen, like millisecond in, I was like, this better not be an eyeball. And then it like continued to progress. I hate eyeballs. Like continued to progress. And I was like, maybe it's not. And I was like, gosh, this feels a lot like it might become an eyeball. And then bing, there comes the eyeball. And I was like, oh, God damn it. I didn't
It's eyeball.
It's an eyeball.
It's have you seen 2001: A Space Odyssey?
I may have. Is that the one with Tim Allen?
Absolutely not.
No.
You're thinking of Galaxy Quest?
Oh, that is exactly what I'm thinking of. Then no, I haven't.
Okay. The opening sequence is, I think, very specifically 2001: A Space Odyssey adjacent.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are also eyeballs in 2001.
Yeah.
Is what I will say about that. Maybe some Patreon listening right now could hear you say that and think to themselves, I know what I'll do. I'll make my next request for Carrie's worth mentioning 2001. Maybe I'll even be the Patreon to do that.
I don't want anything. I mean, this was okay because nothing actually like poked at the eyeball. But if something's going to poke an eyeball, I am out.
You know, it's the spooky season. It's October right now, Carrie, and I think you might want to watch a Lucio Fulci film called Zombie.
Zombie? I don't think I do.
You said you like it when things poke eyeballs, right?
No, I was kidding. I'd want to stay as far away from eyeballs as possible.
Oh, there's some good eyeball footage in the filmography of Lucio Fulci, is all I have to say about that.
Okay. Well, let me ask you why. So I also, that intro thought of you because I was like, there were so many shapes and colors and movements and like stuff that I actually just was like, I don't care at all about this. But as I was watching it, I was like, oh, I bet Tim really likes this intro.
I will read from you the opening sentence of my 2014 review of this film.
Please.
The first 20 minutes or so of Under the Skin had me convinced that I was watching the best movie made in the last 2 or 3 years. So yes, you're correct.
It's like, what are you doing and why does it matter? But yeah, visually,
That's exactly
cool.
What are you doing and why does it matter?
But
and does the film answer those questions by the time it's over? I don't know.
It doesn't.
I don't know that it does.
It doesn't. That's the thing. It never comes back to that. Like, what was all of that? We don't know.
Well, let me give you my take and see if you feel good about it. To me, it is a film metaphorically through the presence of an alien who is mimicking a beautiful woman. And I think that's what's happening. Like, I think the movie gives us enough to be like, yes, she's not a human woman. She's not a human woman. She is something that has been generated to take the form of a human woman by an alien, by who knows what. I think the movie is about men who think that they are entitled to beautiful women and what happens to them, and they get what they deserve.
That's kind of where I thought it was going. But then think about the disfigured guy, like the guy that has like the malformed face. Like he was so shy and like did not want anything to do with her and wanted out, like wanted to leave because he didn't feel worthy of her. And she still lures him in. So he's saying like, no, I'm good. I got to go. And she's like, oh, have you ever touched
I think it's saying
face?
that both entitled men and ugly people deserve what they get.
But I felt like he wasn't trying to take advantage of her. So it felt like,
no, but he is ugly. Is what
wow. Gosh.
So if you're entitled and or if you are ugly.
I see. Not mutually exclusive. I gotcha. Or it is mutually exclusive. Okay.
They are both, I don't know. I mean, it's something there. I think there's definitely, I mean, the movie's obviously trafficking in like, Scarlett Johansson is a beautiful person. Like, that's a true statement. And the movie is playing around with that. And we don't feel bad for the men who get done to whatever it is that's being done to them.
I felt a little bad for that guy because I was like, he didn't even really want this. And now he's here. Although he did end up getting naked, which I was like, there's so much nudity in this movie, but like not pleasant nudity. And then one of the guys, the first guy that she hooks up with, I had questions about this too. I might have to cut this out, but the first guy is like at attention in this movie as he like approaches her. And
how are you supposed to stand in the same room as Scarlett Johansson and not be at attention, Carrie?
But how does that even happen? I'm like, how are you shooting this?
The brain sends signals to the soft tissue basically to open up
no
spongy pores to fill with blood.
This is not, you're not going to do that in a movie shoot. You're not going to go and send brain to your blood or blood to your brain and then be like, oh, this is not
Scarlett
awkward.
Johansson standing naked in front of me. I think that I don't care if I'm on a movie shoot or whatever.
I would too, but I'm just saying it's so awkward. So I'm like, I got to look up later to see if that's real. Or maybe it's like, I don't know. I got to do some research on that first guy's penis. So I'm going to do that after this episode.
Okay. Is that what the kids are calling it these days?
That's what I'm going to do. Yes. So, anyway, I think I land on this one as being kind of like, I'm going to put this in my vault of movies when people are like, oh, you have a movie podcast? Like anything interesting? I'll be like, have you ever seen Under the Skin? Like if I sense that there's somebody like you.
What I want is for you to tell the lady at work who doesn't know what polyamory is that you think Under the Skin is a great movie and make her watch it. Just see if this person will even remotely be able to look you in the face ever thereafter.
Company watch party. I think we just get a company watch party of Under the Skin and call it a day. I could go back into retirement immediately after doing that.
I don't think that would be retirement in that case. I think you would be fired for sexual harassment.
Just fired. Yeah. No, I think that's fair. So JV, I have to land this one in my sort of like unrated vault where like I didn't love it, but I also didn't turn it off. I like was genuinely curious of what's going to happen next and trying to figure it out and trying to understand it. Genuine appreciation of like the visuals and like how cool it was. And that's my thoughts.
So what I'm hearing, Carrie, is that the movie got under your skin.
Yes. Yes, it did. I was waiting for it. I had a placeholder in here. I was like, pause. Tim's going to make an under the skin joke about this movie. So left it for you there.
You know, we've been doing this for how many years? I think we have our routines and our cadences that people expect of us.
It's fair. So nevertheless, thank you again for sharing that with me. And again, affirming Tim's views on it, probably sharing of your own. That said, that kind of pushes us into the big part of the show here. And Tim and I were kind of struggling with like, do we want to do this as like a top 5, even those 4 movies, and then we watch 5? Do we rank them? How do we do it? And we ultimately came out deciding, let's just kind of do this as a little bit of like a spoiler-esque episode. And so today we're going to be trying to go through and assess 4 episodes that Brian selected from the Dragon Ball Z.
Well, just to clarify, they aren't episodes because this isn't a TV show. These are actually the movies based on the TV show, but they're short movies.
Oh, wait,
but they're not part of the episodes of the show.
Okay, that I didn't get because they were like 45 minutes. So these are considered movies.
There's a thing that happens in Japan. I don't know if it still happens. It happened in the 80s and 90s where companies will like put out blocks of their property in like smaller than feature length chunks. Mm-hmm. So these would have aired or not aired. They would have shown in theaters with a couple of other things from the same animation studio. So they are short for that reason, but they were theatrically released.
Okay.
They were not episodes that aired on your TV.
Okay. You know what's interesting about that? So this is where we probably get into the like, what's the difference between ball, and balls? You know what I'm saying? There's three kinds of balls.
Yes, actually I do. So there is a manga being Japanese comic books, manga called Dragon Ball.
Okay.
And that's all there is.
Just one ball.
That's the comic book.
Okay.
The comic book was adapted into a TV show called Dragon Ball.
Oh, another Dragon Ball. Okay.
So there's a TV show called Dragon Ball. At a certain point, they replaced the TV show called Dragon Ball with a TV show called Dragon Ball Z.
Okay.
I don't know what the difference is between those two.
I mean, it feels like a ballsy move, you know,
to
mix it up there in the end. I'm trying.
And they will later go on to also make Dragon Ball. I think it's Dragon Ball GT.
Okay.
And then later still Dragon Ball Super.
Wow.
And these are all TV shows. Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, between them, adapt the entirety of the Dragon Ball comic book.
I know everybody.
And I don't know what Dragon Ball GT and Dragon Ball Super are.
Okay, and we didn't watch those. So ours, I think, came from the Dragon Ball series.
Dragon Ball.
Just the singular ball.
There is no Z.
Yes. Whew. That's a pretty in-depth description. And the other thing
it is glancing on the surface of the vast subterranean lake that is the Dragon Ball media franchise, I assure you.
Well, for me, I'm still processing what you just said. The thing that I find most intriguing about what you just said is that there's more than these 4. This is something that people are really interested in.
I believe that there are
26
episodes. Feature films.
Wow.
I think that is the number.
Okay. Well, we'll get to the nut of why.
These are the only 4 Dragon Ball feature films. There are
Okay.
also Dragon Ball Z feature films and Dragon Ball Super feature
ones.
films, but these are
Okay.
the only 4 Dragon Ball
Got it.
films, and that is why Brian selected these 4.
I see. That's helpful. And there's also a live action one too that Rob wanted to watch with me if we were watching it, but I was like, nope, it's just these 4 other ones. So I've heard that one's bad.
The fan base despises that movie passionately.
That's what I've heard. Well, this is helpful context for me because it means there's so many episodes. It means so many people love this. And we hope that as you are listening, that we can share in your love of this series. So hopefully you love them, Tim.
Is that our hope?
Hopefully you love them. All right. So we're going to try and tackle this. It's a lot to tackle. We're going to try and tackle this. I would love to tell you a little bit about what it's about at the highest level. I'm allowing myself 2 sentences on what it's about. And then if I've missed anything, you just fill in those
2
gaps.
sentences, unless those sentences each have like 19 clauses, yes, you will have missed something.
Okay. Well, I actually felt pretty good about my summary. I wrote it from scratch. So we'll see. Maybe I'm just quite the communicator. Okay, so here we go. There's a mysterious dragon who has 7 balls, yellow balls. And the rest of the world is obsessed.
He's very popular.
You losing my flow. I got to get through these 2 sentences. And the rest of the world.
That's one. You've said one.
Well, it was like a ... So it's still the same sentence. It's
Okay.
like I did a lot of tildes in here. Yellow balls ... And the rest of the world is obsessed with finding his balls because they're
Tell me about it.
They're scattered about. They're everywhere. We don't know where these balls are. And if you bring them together, you are granted a single wish. And then once you do, these balls get rescattered everywhere. So it's not like you can be like, oh, I'm just going to go pick up the ball again. It takes everybody lots of work, lots of effort to refine these balls. I guess if I try to like sell you on it, if you haven't seen it, I'd say it's kind of like half Scooby-Doo, half Porky's, I would say.
What in Christ's name are you talking about? No, I see it. I see where you came up with Scooby-Doo as a comparison.
Yeah, Scooby-Doo is like half, and then like the pig, the anime pig, that like runs around. And...
Oh, I thought you meant Porky's because there's just such a disgusting, leering adolescent sexuality. I didn't realize you meant the actual Porky Pig. Porky.
No, not Porky Pig. The anime Porky. The guy that's like a police officer and he's a pig and he runs around.
Porco Rosso? What are you talking about?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, not Porky's. Porco Rosso.
Oh, I thought you were comparing it to the sex comedy franchise Porky's. Because do you understand that if you said it's half a real thing and half a sex comedy, I'd be like, well, that seems like a very reasonable comparison to me.
It actually does. Porky's works here too. So it's Scooby-Doo.
Porky's works here. That's what I'm saying.
This is
Scooby-Doo meets Porky's is a very good description of Dragon Ball.
This is actually better than Porco Rosso, maybe. This is where I said I feel like I'm just like on all cylinders right now. Scooby-Doo meets Porky's with a little touch of Porco Rosso because there is a pig that's anime. That's what it's about. And then there's lots of characters, and I tried to like look up all their names. It's really hard to keep track of, so I'll probably end up just describing their faces as we go through this. Tim, what would you add to that description? Because again, I feel like I nailed it.
I would begin by saying that if someone was handling all 7 of my balls at the same time, I would also give them whatever they wanted.
Wouldn't you be in the moment. I thought you would be in the Dragon Ball series.
But I'm saying I'm making a testicle joke. I'm making a sex joke. Carrie.
I was making one too because you only have the one ball.
Oh, I see. I'm too
on right now.
I said though, if I had 7, because even if I had not had that medical condition, I would still only have 2.
That's true. Or do some people have more than 2? Unknown.
Not to my knowledge.
Oh, okay. So if you had 7 balls,
that would be difficult.
What would you do?
What?
So if you had 7 balls, what would you do?
I would not be on this podcast for 2 hours. I can tell you that much. No. So you gave us a sort of macro level, I think, look at the series. I think that'll get us into the individual movies. So the actual nitty gritty of the story is that there is a monkey boy.
Oh, is that the guy with the tail? I thought he was a cat.
He's a monkey.
Oh, okay.
At a certain level of remove, this is based on a Chinese novel called Journey to the West,
Mm-hmm.
which stars Monkey, like sort of monkey, the Ur monkey. Uh, so that's why he has a monkey tail until he ceases to have a monkey tail in the second of the two movies we watched. But his name is Goku, and he is a little monkey boy with superpowers.
Bless you. Bless you.
I'm assuming that we're going to try and trim this out.
Doubt it. So keep going.
he is a monkey boy with superpowers of some sort, largely that he seems to have just a tremendous quantity of strength. The very first thing we see him do in the first movie, and I believe it's the first thing we see him do in all versions of this story, he's killing a giant fish so he can eat it. So Goku is our sort of main protagonist across the totality of the however many hundreds of issues go into Dragon Ball. He meets up with, in the segment of the franchise we're looking at, a teenage girl named Bulma who is also looking for the Dragon Balls to make her own wish, and a teenage boy named Yamcha, who is the bandit of the desert or something like that. And he's not so much looking for the Dragon Balls, but he joins them because he sort of has a thing for Bulma.
Yeah.
They also meet a shape-changing pig named Oolong, which cute little touch. The two shape-changing creatures in this cartoon, the pig Oolong and the is like a cat.
You talk about the little teal cat?
The little blue guy, the little thing that turns into the other transforming creature.
Yeah, I'm not going to know the name. I thought his name was like...
His name is Poor. I can tell you that. I'm
Poor.
saying what is the animal that he is.
Oh, I also thought it was a cat. I don't think it is, but...
Well, the reason that it's a cute touch, both Oolong and Poor are names of teas.
Oh, okay. Something with pointy ears, and I don't know. So Poor is the teal blob thing.
The little cat-looking thing.
Yeah.
And Oolong is the pig dressed like a member of the Chinese Red Army.
Mm-hmm.
Which there's a very weird, like, Chinese thing going on here. Like, it's very clearly a Japanese property about, like, a kind of fantasized version of China. And I don't know what to make of that other than to point out that it's there. But so the first movie basically concerns these people. I guess I just named 5 of them. Does that sound right?
You forgot about the pervy grandpa.
What?
You forgot about the pervy grandpa. What's his name?
Oh yes, the pervy grandpa, the turtle hermit. He has a real name, Roshi, I think is the turtle hermit's name.
Roshi. All
right. He teaches Goku how to use his powers and keeps making leering, inappropriate comments towards Bulma.
Yes, we'll get there. I have thoughts on that
because that's a thing that is a part of Japanese anime. Is that disgusting old men who are perverts are comedy gold, and that's just a norm of the genre. So, hope you're okay with that. So the first story is basically them trying to find the Dragon Balls, whilst they're being also chased by the forces of King Garumis, and so. It's a race to see who's going to get it first, and the Garumis army is laying waste to the land while this is all going on.
And Garumis is like didn't used to be. He's like a giant monster, but he didn't used to be.
He's some sort of disgusting monster who took a curse, and his wish, if he collects all the Dragon Balls, is going to be to have the curse lifted.
Right, which is fair because he doesn't look great. I will say
he looks like a horrible frog-like thing.
And he can't feed his hunger enough. He's just always hungry, and like they try to keep giving him more food, and he's just sort of hungry, and he doesn't want to be hungry anymore like that. Probably again, not great for meeting ladies. Looking like that either, and so yes, he wants the wishes, and so they're battling against each other for the balls first.
And that gets us through the 50 minutes of the first ever Dragon Ball feature film, which is called Dragon Ball Curse of the Blood Rubies. Because there are red rubies in there, and they have some sort of curse, and I will confess that I didn't quite pick up what that curse would have been.
I think that isn't the curse like.
Is there what made Garumas a toad man?
Yeah, that's what I thought. So he's trying to find
that would make sense.
Yeah. Okay. And then they're trying to find them all. They're all scattered. And so when he does the wish, it like makes them emerge from, like, destroys all of these red rubies, because then he could become, himself again. Yeah.
The thing that I do know is that the first movie is based on the first 13 episodes of the TV show. It's kind of like a summary version.
It's a lot packed in there then.
A lot packed in there. And that's, I think, part of why I didn't really realize what the blood rubies are. There's just a lot of plot. There's so much plot. Plot is happening like every minute of these 50 minutes. It's very tiring.
And do you want to go through all of them, or do you want to talk about how you felt about this one, the first one?
Which would you prefer to do?
Let's maybe go through them all, and then we can rank and talk about which ones we liked.
Okay, sounds good. So tell me about the next one, which in English is called Dragon Ball Sleeping Princess and Devil's Castle, but I believe the Japanese title is actually closer to the Devil Castle Princess.
Devil Castle Princess, yes. Gosh, after one, they start to kind of blur together a little bit, so I'm going to give it my best shot.
See, I would actually say that Sleeping Princess and Devil's Castle is the one that seems the most distinct from the others.
Okay, well, then fill in my gaps for me.
I will say, according to so Brian has been helping me out with this, both in his own reviews and in commenting on my reviews on Letterboxd. Apparently, this one is not really based on anything that happens in the comic. This is apparently a more or less new story, which is probably why it feels a little bit more distinctive to me than the other three.
So in this one, Goku, like you were mentioning, and then Krillin. We didn't talk about Krillin.
Well, he didn't get introduced until this one.
Oh, yeah. That's the little guy, right?
Yes.
The bald little guy or the hairy little guy?
He's the bald little guy.
Okay, the bald little guy with the eyebrows.
Who's the hairy little guy?
There's a shorter, looks like there's a smaller version of Goku. That has all the powers.
I don't think I saw that. Goku has what?
Who's
Are you just thinking of Goku?
Who's the one? Wait, so Goku's the one that's like really looking for girls, right?
No, Goku's the one who doesn't care at all about looking for girls.
Who's the like handsome guy that's looking like an older version of Goku then?
Oh, that is the one that begins with a Y. Yamcha.
Oh, okay. All right. Hang on. I got to make a note here. Hottie. Hang on one second. Let me just type that down so I don't forget. I thought he's pretty cute. So Goku. Okay. So in this one, Goku and Krillin. So the little guy with the eyebrows, he looks kind of like one of those mushrooms a little bit from like Super Mario. They want to be trained in the martial arts by the great master Roshi. Okay.
The turtle hermit.
Hermit, the pervy old man.
Yes, turtle hermit whose primary motivating force is wanting to do inappropriate things with young girls. And that is very important for the plot of this movie.
Yes, it is. That happened in this one, right? With the Peep Show. Did that happen in this one?
I think the Peep Show was in the first one.
Oh, it was. Okay. Gross. So yeah, this guy just really wants to see, he calls them like mounds or something, or like, what does he call them?
So I gave you, spoiler to everyone, we acquired these movies through very legal channels, and I having acquired them, gave them to Carrie. I gave you, Carrie, the English dubs because I know that would have eased your uptake. I actually watched the Japanese versions, and it's slightly different because in the Japanese versions, he keeps wanting poof poof.
Oh, gross.
which is the name of the sex act where you, in English we would call it motorboating.
Oh, gross.
But in Japanese he keeps calling it poof poof, and I felt my body just like dripping with like motor grease every time the word poof poof was said out loud.
I'm like cringing every time you're saying it right now. I'm imagining him saying that. He in the English dub version says like, I want to see, it's not, he means to say I want to see your boobies, but instead he says I want to see your like chest rocks or something like that, like chest bumps.
Honestly, that's also getting the motor oil feeling a little bit.
I think our oil is different. Mine's like a different reason my motor's running. Yours is running for different reasons. But
no, I'm saying I feel greasy and bad.
Oh, okay, good.
I'm not saying I feel turned on.
Oh, I wanted to
I
make
feel like
sure.
I've been just coated in sleaze.
That's exactly how I feel. Every single time I would see the turtle
Because
man, he was
because
like
like the
gross.
thing is, when you get motor oil on your hands, I don't know if you've had this experience. Your hand just becomes like an attractor to dust and
Yes.
filth. Like if you just
Yes.
kind of wave your hand through the air, not touching anything, when you pull it back, it'll be just like caked with shit. And
Yes.
that's the way I feel
That's how
about
it
the turtle.
feels. I 100% agree with that assessment. He's super gross, but even though he's like, I don't know what happens. Even though he's like super small and frail and gross, like he looks like he's about to die. Whenever he goes into fight mode, he like blows up into like an Arnold Schwarzenegger body, still with the gross little like head on top of it.
Well, because he's channeling energy.
Okay. All right. Well, Master Roshi can get pretty hulky. So they want to do that. The only way he will agree to train them is if they go to the Devil's Castle to find the sleeping princess who's being held prisoner and then bring her back to his island is the goal. Anything else you would add to
Sexy
that?
and cute.
Because she's sexy and cute. Anything else you would add to that?
Well, they go to Devil's Castle, where they find Dracula Satan,
Yes. Count
basically,
Lucifer.
and kind of a nice treat for an early October viewing. I didn't expect that. It basically turns into a horror movie for a nice little stretch of its 45 minutes because there's a spooky castle and it's full of orcs and bat creatures and whatnot, and the backgrounds look really scary.
And then
And I
what
like
was the
that.
wish in this one? I'm trying to remember. What's the wish at the end? Because it always closes with a wish.
This one they don't gather the Dragon Balls, so there is no wish involved. The vampire Satan wants to use his gun to shoot the sun,
Okay.
and they stop him.
Okay. Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right.
And along the way, we discover that Goku can become a 40-foot tall ape.
Yes. Yes. And Goku, again, if you've forgotten, is the little guy with the powers.
He's a little protagonist guy.
Little protagonist with the power.
Who can punch things and who now can do it's called a Kamehameha in this franchise, but it's functionally the same as the Hadouken from Street Fighter 2, and I'm desperate to find out if Street Fighter ripped it off of Dragon Ball or if it's referring to some sort of pre-established thing in Japanese culture, because I didn't know that it existed outside of Street Fighter until I watched these movies.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that covers all of that one.
I think so.
For the most part. Okay. I'm going to jump to me again, and then I want you to go through 4. Who's the one that has Frankenstein? That's 4.
That's 4.
Okay. I'll have you talk about that one. I'm going to go through number 3, which was from 1988, and this is Dragon Ball Mystical Adventure. Because I don't know what happened in 4. I'm still confused about 4, so that's why you have to do that one. So, for the third one.
Oh, 4's the easy one,
Is
but we'll
it?
get there.
Okay. Emperor Shitsu, his wife has gone missing, and he's told by Master Shen that if he collects the 7 Dragon Balls yet again.
Now, that is a big change from the Japanese dub. It is not his wife, it is his fiance.
Oh, really?
/ playmate in the Japanese dub.
Interesting. And I could have like misread that too. It's hard to say.
I bet you did not, because you probably said the word wife because you weren't reading it. So
yeah, that's true. If he collects the 7 Dragon Balls, he can call upon the Eternal Dragon and wish for her return. So meanwhile, Goku and Krillin attend the World Martial Arts Tournament, which is hosted by the Emperor Bora and his son Upa, and they attempt to hide the Dragon Ball they found from the Emperor's forces, which are under the control of the evil Shen and General Tao. And Bulma conducts her own search for the Dragon Balls with the help of Yamcha, Puar, and Oolong. So they're out for it too. And then this is the one, they do use the balls in the end of this, but I'll let you get there. What did I miss in this one?
I don't know. This one confused the shit out of me. So this is also information from Brian. So again, thank you, Brian. Damn you, Brian, for making us do this, but thank you, Brian, for actually facilitating our ability to do it somewhat well. Apparently, this is like a summary of 75 episodes of the show.
That
and it
makes
feels
sense.
like they try to get at least one plot point from all 75 of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this one was packed, and it jumped around from people, new people.
It jumps
new
around. I did not understand, and maybe I still don't understand, maybe what I'm about to say is wrong, that the the empire where they're going for the martial arts event is not also the empire where the child emperor is trying to find his doll.
Right.
Spoiler alert, she turns out to be a doll. I think it's supposed to be a joke.
Wait, I thought the emperor turns out to be a doll because they
No,
look like
the
a doll.
girl, like the emperor's wife, girlfriend,
Oh,
is like a doll, right?
I don't remember that.
I think she's supposed to be a doll.
Like not like an inflatable.
No, like his teddy bear,
Oh,
because he's not a little child. The emperor's like a little small child.
yeah.
And I think when he said he's looking for his consort or whatever word we're using, I think he's just in his childish way sort of made his favorite dolly
His lovey.
that.
Okay.
And so that was very hard for me to figure out. But I didn't realize that the emperor that the child emperor rules, I think, is not the same as the empire where the martial arts event is happening. Does that track with your
I think so.
understanding?
I think so. Because then the martial arts one where that starts off, then Goku, that's the one where he starts taking people down and he ends up being super powerful and sort of unleashes that upon some of the really large people that are there, right?
Right.
Yeah, I think it's two different places.
I think it is. And it took me a while to figure that out. And there's a cat.
There's a cat.
Some sort of cat wizard at the top
Cat
of a tower.
wizards. Yeah, I think that sums that one up. I think that one's about it on that one.
I mean, I feel like we would have to literally just like read the script for this one to have covered all of the plot points within it. Because I was so lost in this one.
Yeah. I wasn't lost in the last one, but I guess for the last one, so the last one is Dragon Ball: The Path to Power, which takes a leap. So that says 1996. So this is 8 years later.
So do you want me to hit this one?
I do, because this one like also feels like it's trying to fit a lot because it starts off in a way that I am obsessed with and that I love, and then it leaves.
Is it because the literal first thing we see is his little tiny penis?
No, that's not what I was say at all, but now I remember that and I was like, why?
I was expecting that to come up sooner because I remember how just scandalized you were in My Neighbor Totoro when they're having a bath together.
I did see it.
I was like, there's so much little boy dong in these Dragon Ball movies because in Japan they don't care.
Yeah, and this wasn't the first time we saw his micro penis either because it had shown.
No, we see it in at least 3 of the 4 shorts.
Yes, yeah. I think because it was just sort of so non-animated. It's sort of like, I mean, I was like, whoa, is that a micro penis? But it didn't. Yeah. It didn't like sit with me in a totally disturbing way.
There's a norm. I've seen several penises in anime. There's some sort of cultural norm where if you haven't gone through puberty, it's not sexual to show you naked.
Okay.
Like I don't know if they just straight up can't conceive of pedophilia in Japan or what, but like there's not any sort of nudity taboo for children because they're not sexual beings. So whatever. Yeah. It doesn't matter. So you'll see those little like a curve on top of a curve representing a little teeny penis.
Well, and that's the thing. It's just literally like a little U. It wasn't like super descriptive. There wasn't like, I don't know. It's like intense visuals or anything. It was just a little U. Right. It's just a little one. Right. So no, I was talking about Frankenstein, the introduction of Frankenstein, who is my favorite monster. And so I was so excited that he was there and loved the way that the plot was going. And then he disappeared. But nevertheless, you tell us, this is The Path to Power. What's it about?
So this is the 10th anniversary movie, by which point Dragon Ball had ceased to exist. The Dragon Ball manga continued existing until 1995, I think, at which point it reached the end of its story. They stopped publishing it. But in anime, Dragon Ball had stopped in 1989 and was replaced by Dragon Ball Z.
Okay.
So Dragon Ball has not existed for 7 years in anime. But they make a 4th Dragon Ball movie as a celebration of 1 decade of the anime franchise, essentially. And the plot, and this is why I say it struck me as being easy, it's a remake of the first one. Like, it's just straight up the same story. Only now, instead of Garumas and his empire, it is the Red Ribbon Army, which appears
in the first one
to be an attempt. What?
But we see the Red Ribbon Army in the first one too, don't we?
We see the Red Ribbon Army in the third one.
Oh, the third one. Gosh darn it. Okay.
This is what I'm saying. So the Red Ribbon Army, which appears to be the Nazis. Is that fair to just call them the Nazis?
Now that you're saying that, I didn't think of it at the time, but now that you're saying it, I think it's fair.
They have little red icons that they wear as armbands.
Yeah, now that you're saying that. Yeah, no, that feels right.
It struck me because there's this weird thing in Japan where a lot of Japanese pop culture has this kind of relationship to the Second World War, where it's like, wow, we sure weren't the bad guys in that war, and we sure weren't allies with the worst guys, were we? Ha ha ha. And having them like make bad guy Nazis in a movie feels like part of that sort of cultural weirdness. But anyway, so it's basically the same plot. Once again, we meet Goku fishing, and he is interrupted in his fishing by meeting Bulma, who is hunting for the Dragon Balls. They team up, and then they, in quick order, meet Oolong and then Yamcha and Puer, at which point they cross paths with this Red Ribbon Army, which has a muscle tower where they have all of their various beasts and androids and soldiers and whatnot. And they eventually are able to escape from Muscle Tower, but along the way, they have made the acquaintance of Android 8, who is the Frankenstein to which you're referring.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not called that in the Japanese dub. He's called that in I looked this up in the Wikipedia to make sure that I'd be using the right terms for the English dub. But so they eventually escape, and then we get back to the plot of Curse of the Blood Rubies, where they meet the Turtle Hermit again, and he agrees to sort of help train Goku, and then immediately sort of goes in a new direction, where now the Red Ribbon Army finds them with the Turtle Hermit, and there's like explosions and people get shot at with rockets, and the Red Ribbon Army is able to capture the 6 Dragon Balls that have at this point been acquired by Bulma, and they want the 7th Dragon Ball, which Goku has on his body, and there's a battle over that last Dragon Ball, and who will control it and who will be able to call up the dragon to make their wish.
That is well said. Well said. That was a lot also to sum up, but I think we kind of got through those. I think we did a pretty good job. I think we don't understand everything, but I think we kind of got through those. I would love to start off with a couple questions for you. So I will not promise to have answers. No,
okay.
they're fluffies. They're fluffy questions. They're flus. Or wait, what are they called again?
Poof poofs.
They're poof poofs. We're gonna give you some poof poofs here.
I don't know. Stop talking.
No. Every time I want to get back to you, that's gonna be my buzzword. Anytime you say something weird to me, I'm gonna call it a poof. So, well,
it's not as just bone-shatteringly disgusting when you say it as it is when the Turtle Hermit says
That's fair. But how do you feel about these? So you hadn't seen them going. This shocks me, number one, that you hadn't seen these going into it. It feels like something you would have.
There's so fucking much Dragon Ball.
For
like,
sure.
if you don't start watching it when you're like of an age where you can get massively into media properties, and I think that's part of why Brian gave these 4 to us. How do you even begin contemplating starting something that has as many hours of content as Dragon Ball?
Well, if you're not like you,
and that's why I've never tried.
If you're not a completionist like you, then it's fine. I watch these 4 and then I can make my assessment. Like, oh, do I want to do this again? And if I do, then I'll just like continue watching. It doesn't feel like these are movies that have to be watched linearly. Like they're basically like, again, this goes back to my Scooby-Doo reference. It's like you kind of know what you're going to get. You know what you're getting out of this. Like the objective in all of these is pretty much the same. Like this crew is going to come together. There's going to be a problem. Somebody that's after these Dragon Balls. Will they, won't they get them? And then what's the ultimate wish going to be at the end for them to grant when the dragon comes? So it's like you kind of know what you're getting. So it does feel like you could hop around. It just seems like a matter
I do feel there's at least a possibility that the only stories that describes are the ones we watched.
Really?
I don't know.
I don't know either. But
I think it's much more of like a martial arts show. I think it's much more about like they go to the martial arts contest and then they have to punch robots.
Yeah.
and shit. Like, I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know
'cause I haven't seen
either.
it.
We're going to have Brian tell us. The other thing is when I was trying to like get a little key for myself of who all of these people were, because I was not registering their names, there's like a billion characters. So if we think it was confusing to like the ones that we were introduced into these, there's like a billion more. So I have no idea how you would in any way keep this like team of people or like this cast of characters straight in any sort of way. There's like a million people. So
I mean, presumably, if you're watching one episode a week for 10 years, the ease of uptake is a little bit less abrupt than it was for us.
yeah, that's probably true and abrupt. But how do you feel about these? What's your take?
They're fun. I am not going to race out to watch the rest of the Dragon Ball media empire. If any Dragon Ball properties flop themselves in front of me, I might not turn away. But I think they were cute. The first three in particular are very much cheap children's anime from the 80s, and there's a ceiling to that, but I think they're visually appealing. They have very bright colors. I think the character designs are very charming. Some things I could do with a little bit less of, like I will say the pervy humor in these, believe it or not, Carrie, this is the most that has worked for me in any anime I've literally ever seen, because it's a very common thing in anime. And it's usually worse than this.
That's interesting. That
like
is
less funny and more disgusting.
not what I expected you to say in any way. I felt so creeped out by it because of the fact that it felt so digestible for the kids. Like my kids actually really like anime. So at first I was like, maybe this is something I could watch with them. So I'm watching away. And then it gets to, I was mirroring it from my computer onto the TV, like the bigger TV. And literally just as he comes down and he's like, I'm just going to use the word because I can't think of another word right now because I'm tired. So it might be offensive, but like, he's like, if I can see your boobies, he's like, then I will give you what you want. And so literally as Alice walks in, she's like, what you watching? Like that scene is about to happen. And then my computer cut out and it went like back to just my computer. And she's like, hit play. I want to see what's going to happen. And I'm the only one then like privately watching him come up to her. She pulls her shirt down. He like boinks her in the boobs. Like, and he's like, then after he boinks her in the boobs, gets this like really weird bloody nose. Like every time he touches a body, he bleeds.
I knew that was going to come up.
What is
there
that?
There is a very elaborate visual language that anime and manga use. And part of that language, and it's from Japanese culture, nosebleeds are associated with inappropriate or embarrassing, is maybe a better word, sexual arousal. So like in an American cartoon, the joke, like not an American cartoon for children, but in an American cartoon, the joke would be that he turns around and he has just a gigantic hard-on.
Mm-hmm.
In a Japanese cartoon, the joke is that he gets an explosive bloody nose. And apparently in Japan, there's like some sort of saying, I don't quite know how it goes, but it's apparently, are you familiar with the thing, if you touch yourself down there, your hands you'll like grow hair on your hands or something like that?
No.
Well, it's like basically, if you think dirty thoughts, everyone will know because your nose will start bleeding.
Okay.
So when your nose bleeds in Japan, people accuse you basically of thinking dirty thoughts. So in anime, the visual signifier of this character is so horny that he can't stop it is like jet of nosebleed. That's not it's franchise by any stretch of the imagination.
That is weird and interesting at the same time. Like it actually makes me less off-put by it, by knowing that, because it was just like, what is this? But Alice walked in and then thankfully like I was like right after it ended, I was like, oh, got it to work again, like after I made it through the scene. But I just felt like all of the sexuality in this just made it something that now has isolated the group that can watch it. You know, like I'm not going to show this to my kids. Like this is too creepy. It's too weird. And then
And I know a lot of that was cut out when it was localized for the United States in the 90s.
oh, they've left some in the
because we are,
ones
as
you
a
sent me.
rule, a country that is less comfortable exposing our children to dirty jokes than the Japanese, certainly.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. That part of it kind of bugged me. And then I thought it was interesting too, and this is another question I was going to have for you around like what is it with like half of the cast's goal? Like if they're talking about like what's your wish? When they throw that out there, like 50% of the time it's to find a lover, like find a girlfriend, find a boyfriend. Like if I got a wish, I would wish for like a partner. Is that also like part of the culture? What is that?
I feel like so there is a genre is not the word. This is based on what's called shonen manga, and that basically means manga for boys. The opposite would be shoto, I think. Shoto or shujo, one of those two words, is manga for girls. And in a lot of these like anime and manga for young people, it's basically soap operas. And the idea is like everything, the world is coming to an end and giant robots from space are going to destroy the sun. And, you know, God himself needs to be stabbed with the magical spear to prevent the universe. All of this like crazy ass cosmic shit. The stakes are always, 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 I'm lonely and horny.
Yeah.
So like that I think is actually like just a kind of trope of these kinds of stories for like older children, like 10 to 16.
Okay.
Like that sort of age group. So yes, that is just how these stories work, is the obsessive prioritization of being in a couple.
Yeah.
Over every other possible stakes. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I thought that was weird. But again, adjusting to the genre, I was like, why every time? Like the world is ending, and it's like, well, I need a girlfriend. I mean, I see that the world is ending, but I need a
there's a whole ass like I don't love it actually, but a lot of people think it's one of the best things that's ever happened in anime. It's called Neon Genesis Evangelion, where basically all of everything that has ever been created might be collapsing, but the main arc of the story is whether this kind of miserable drip of a teenage boy will figure out which of the two girls that he works with is cuter. Essentially, it's all very strange.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's one of the reasons I don't really watch this kind of shonen anime, because I don't care about those stories as much.
Right. You have more important priorities in life. Well, that's helpful for me, because that was kind of the part that was a little bit off-putting for me. If I was going to say from my end, would I go out and watch 200 episodes of Dragon Ball Z in my future to spend my time? I don't think I would. I think I feel good about watching these 4. So thank you, Brian, for that. I feel good about getting a little bit of exposure to it, like seeing what it's about, getting the context from you. Like I didn't not enjoy myself.
It's such an enormous thing.
Yeah.
Like this, more than any other franchise, Dragon Ball, and specifically the Dragon Ball Z leg of the franchise, which isn't what we watched. But Dragon Ball Z is sort of the thing that made anime commercially viable in the West.
Yeah.
And I'd never really seen any of it. And it is a huge gap. And like I said, it was a huge gap in my education that I was scared to fill, because where do you start?
Yeah.
And starting with these 4 felt good.
I agree.
So I'm glad I saw them.
Agreed. Now, before we close out, I want you to rank them. What's your 1
absolutely
through 4?
easily done.
Okay.
4, 1, 2, 3.
That's my ranking.
There you go. Well, I mean, 4 is just by far the best looking.
Yeah, it is
by a lot the best looking. So I think it's
different. Like it started, and I was like, "This looks different. This feels different."
It's like it feels like they spent more money on any given 5 minutes of the 4th movie than the totality of the original trilogy.
Totally agreed. And I love the Frankenstein, and I won't tell you what happens, but Frankenstein doesn't die at the end of the last one. And I was like, if Frankenstein dies.
So you will tell us what happens.
I will. I was like, if he dies, I'm going to be so pissed. And then they used their wish. And I was like, ugh, now this is my
So you're straight up telling us what happens.
Yeah, I guess I am. It's from 1990.
You've literally described something that happens about a quarter of a second after the end of the movie. It's how much you just spoiled the end of the movie.
This is what I did. I'll put a alert in there, but I won't.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's fine.
Anyone who cares has seen it. I think it's sort of
so
the thing here. It's a 20-year-old thing.
2, 3. I agree. And again, I wouldn't hate it if I saw another one. If somebody was watching it, I'd sit down and watch it, but probably wouldn't pick it up on my own.
I had a good time.
I did too. I actually really enjoyed it. I watched everyone from beginning to end and closed myself off from my family to do it with headphones. And I
love that for you.
I do as well. So thank you, Brian, for sharing those with us. Something we would have not otherwise seen. Always really, really appreciate it. Tim, that brings us to the end of the show. Anything else before we wrap up?
Only that I'm shocked by the small number of testicle jokes that we ended up making.
You know what? I came out strong.
3.
I know, only 3. I felt kind of bad after the one where I was just like, why did I, make jokes about you not having 7 balls? So then I started to slow it down. I slowed my pace.
I wouldn't have 7 balls, so I didn't even take that as a joke against my encounter with a fatal disease.
It's true. I know. Oh, and then you reminded me, and I was like, I would hate if you had another fatal disease. So then that started ruminating my mind.
I would also hate that.
I would too. It'd be very sad, honestly. So nevertheless, only a few ball jokes today, but thank you guys all for joining us. Want to thank again all of our Patreons who support our show and get early access to exclusive content, make us watch movie or many movies as Brian did, pick your own episode topic and more, just like Josh Lawrence, who, drumroll, picked up our Oscar award level. That's the doozy of all award levels, entitling him to everything. Early access to reviews, exclusive access to TV reviews, behind the scenes, also gives him access to a review on the site, also a review on this podcast, as well as picking their own episode topic. So thank you very much. Also want to thank everybody who supports us through Amazon, going through our banner on alternateending.com. All proceeds go to making our show better from that. You can also get out there and leave us a review wherever you stream your podcast. We always appreciate those. And then just as a final heads up, coming up I guess we're coming into October. We're in October, but coming up later in October, we have movie trivia coming, hosted by Brennan, and coming up on one of our next top 5s, which will either be top 5 flops or top 5 80s movies. On top 5 flops, that will be a live show. So be on the lookout for details about that. So in closing, head out there to our social media, Facebook, Instagram, alternateending.com, and check out all of our other content there. And we'll catch you next time.